This is DateLine with CFJ. Headline, breaking news with a little snark thrown in. DateLine, Capitol Hill. While the Democrats have decided that the only way to bamboozle the low-information voter into helping them keep the Senate in November is by running against a do-nothing Congress, it's a cynical ploy. They realize that low-info voters hear Congress and assume it only means the House of Representatives. But the fact of the matter is, it's both the House and the Senate. And as informed people know, the slimiest Democrat of them all, Crooked Harry Reid, has been in charge of the Senate for the last 7.5 years.
Oh my God.
A disastrous 7 years to be sure. And by the way, the Real Clear Politics Congressional Job Approval average is at 12%, and it is owned by nobody else but the real obstructionist, Harry Reid. The Republican-controlled House has over 350 bills they have passed, many bipartisan bills with a 2/3 majority with help from House Democrats that are still sitting on Harry Reid's desk. He is afraid to bring them up for a vote in the Senate, as if they should pass and help out the American people, they would lose their only talking point for the midterm elections, a do-nothing Congress. Of those 357 bills, over 40 of them are purely jobs bills to help put Americans back to work, as the real unemployment rate is still over 10% 6 years into the Obama debacle. With all those bills to help America piling up on Dirty Harry's desk, one must wonder, what's the breaking point of this obstructionism? DateLine, California. Proving why the home of La La Land and San Fran Freak Show is the deepest of blue states, their leader, Jerry Brown, otherwise known as Governor Moonbeam, is still propagating the fallacy of global warming. He said just this week that the reason for the immigration problems in the past and why it will increase in the future is because, and I quote, people are driven north from the parched landscapes of a world degraded by intensifying climate change, unquote. Now we know that a majority of Californians need to pull their heads out of their keisters, but it won't be done unless they are led by example. With all the facts about the globe actually cooling over the past decades, when will loons like Governor Brown pull his head out? DateLine, the floor of the House of Representatives. The loony bin was called in with her butterfly nets as former Speaker of the House, who famously said from that same floor,
I don't know what was so great about the Depression, but that's the name they give it.
Lost her mind last week as she was called out for her hypocrisy. The Republican congressman from Pennsylvania called Pelosi and other do-nothing Democrats out on the immigration issue, and they're playing politics with the Hispanics and American children's lives.
You know something that I find quite interesting about the other side? Under the leadership of the former Speaker and under the leadership of their former leader, when in 2009 and 2010, they had the House, the Senate, and the White House, and they knew this problem existed. They didn't have the strength to go after it back then, but now are trying to make a political issue out of it now.
She then chased him down, running across the floor of the House like a raving lunatic, because the truth always sends liberals off the deep end. What's scary is that this left-wing nut job was just 2 heartbeats away from the presidency from 2007 to 2009.
Say what?
You heard me. This dingbat was third in line to the presidency for 2 years. What I want to ask Democrats who voted her Speaker of the House in 2007,
what the hell were you thinking?
DateLine, flashback. The President of the United States, still on the campaign trail some 6 years into his presidency, complained that the Republicans in Congress are not willing to work with him. As we stated earlier in DateLine, the GOP House has sent over 350 bills to the Senate for a vote. That would then, of course, make it to the President's desk. Does Barack Obama honestly believe that the American people don't know that Reid is stopping all House bills with the blessing and/or direction of the President himself? No. We here at WAAR Radio have good memories, and we never forget what POTUS has said in the past. Now, we all know that Obama's statements and promises have expiration dates, but way back in 2009, when Republicans met with the President and his groupies in the Democrat Congress to discuss health care reform, what was Obama's answer to the Republican suggestions?
Mr. Obama said, according to participants, that debate is over because, quote, I won.
Say that again?
Quote, I won.
Now that's presidential leadership. Now that's presidential leadership and reaching across the aisle. DateLine. The U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia. As we told you 2 weeks ago right here on DateLine, Eric Holder's House of Race Guards was about to come crashing down. D.C. District Court Judge John Bates sided with Judicial Watch and their Freedom of Information Act request of over a year ago that Holder must release all documents regarding the Fast and Furious operation, which cost 2 border enforcement agents' lives, as well as hundreds of Mexican citizens their lives, as this administration sent over 3,500 weapons to the Sinaloa drug cartel in Mexico. In the beginning of this scandal, Holder and Obama claimed they had nothing to do with it and had no knowledge of the operation. But as soon as Judicial Watch and Congress asked for documents of communication between Holder and Obama about Fast and Furious, President Obama exercised executive privilege in an attempt to hide the documents that he and Holder said didn't exist in the first place. Wasn't it our beloved leader who once said,
"The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide"?
So now that they cannot hide their involvement in the murders of hundreds of people, and they both can see civil and maybe even criminal charges against Holder and maybe even Obama himself, you can almost hear Eric Holder over at the Justice Department getting all the documents together that prove he and Obama ordered the Operation Fast and Furious. And that's DateLine for this day, August 8th, 2014.